Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the beef-loving riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Last week, my colleague Carrie Lynn Finlay and I asked the Prime Minister about the spy planes which flew over Ottawa during the protests in January and February. Trudeau was so upset with the line of questioning, he used the F word on us. Naturally, this diverted attention from the question my colleague Dane Lloyd had asked right before. Dane asked the Prime Minister if the inquiry into the government's use of the Emergencies Act had been tainted by political interference. Rather than deny there had been any political interference, the Prime Minister politically interfered in the public inquiry. Trudeau actually said he hoped the inquiry would go after opposition members of Parliament. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are rightly concerned about this Liberal government's political interference with the inquiry into the Emergencies Act. The Prime Minister has refused to turn over key evidence that Cabinet used to justify invoking extraordinary powers, and questions remain on how and why they selected Justice Rouleau to head the inquiry. Can the Prime Minister clear the air and confirm to this House, did any minister or member of their political staff speak with Justice Rouleau about the inquiry before his appointment, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when we invoked the Emergencies Act, we ensured that it was done in a proportional and time-limited way to enable to have the kind of restoring of order that we needed in Canada while maintaining people's confidence in the transparency and the accountability of democracy. That's why we move forward with the Parliamentary Committee. That's why we've moved forward with a national public inquiry as required to be able to give that full transparency. I can understand the Conservatives are concerned about this, Mr. Speaker. They're worried that it's going to show the level to which their support for these blockaders contributed to the difficulties for so many Canadians.
Trudeau clearly told the judge whom he appointed what he wants the inquiry to look into. Now, the law is clear. The judge is supposed to look into the actions the government took while granting itself extraordinary powers. Many are doubtful this judge, hand-picked by Trudeau, will act independently. One of the questions we need answered is why the government even used the Emergencies Act. The borders had been cleared and reopened. The demonstrators in downtown Ottawa were peaceful. Last week, we learned the government lied about the so-called emergency again. The Liberals claimed law enforcement had requested that the Emergencies Act be used. Naturally, we asked the RCMP what advice they gave. Surprise, surprise! The RCMP said they never advised the government to use the Emergencies Act. Take a look.
Chair Lucky, we've heard multiple times from ministers and others that the Emergency Act and the tools provided were specifically requested by police leadership. As a law enforcement agency with primacy for national security, did you ask the government or representatives for the invocation of the Emergencies Act?
No, there was never a question of requesting the Emergency Act. There was a question.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm sorry. So you never asked for it. Do you know of any other police leadership that asked specifically the government for the invocation?
No, we actually reached out to various police agencies when there was talk about some of the authorities within that they were proposing, and of course we were consulted because we were the ones who would be using those authorities. So we were consulted to see if they would be of any use to police in the context of the Freedom Convoy.
For 3 weeks, the Ottawa police chief was begging the RCMP for assistance. In response, the police-crats at RCMP HQ told the Prime Minister the Ottawa's police request was not sufficiently specific. Ottawa's police were overwhelmed from day one. On the first Saturday, there were 10 times more protesters than Ottawa has police. Ottawa said it needed the RCMP, and for 3 weeks, the federal government denied the request. Now the federal departments are all scrambling to make sure somebody else takes the fall, which is why Trudeau is happy to interfere in the inquiry and have the judge investigate his political opponents instead of determining the thresholds necessary to invoke the act had been met. When Trudeau is not busy pushing conspiracy theories about Conservatives and protesters, he's pushing conspiracy theories about Conservatives and artists. C11, a bill to make streaming companies who provide content people want pay broadcasters to show what people don't want to pay for. Conservatives have consistently raised concerns about the impact C11 would have on artists and Canadians' ability to access artists. I have raised concerns about the impact of this bill and the bill, what kind of impact it'll have on minority language art. Last week, my colleague, Rachel Thomas, asked the Prime Minister why the government was pushing its streaming censorship bill when it'll hurt digital artists. Trudeau's response was to push a conspiracy theory. Take a look.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Once again, the Prime Minister proves that he is either incompetent or absolutely committed to misleading Canadians every step of the way. He continues to do this over and over and over again. The fact of the matter is, Bill C11 would actually tip the scales in favour of traditional broadcasters by punishing digital-first creators, artists, those who use TikTok or YouTube or Switch or Spotify in order to get their message out. And somehow, magically, this is supposed to protect Canadian culture. Punish the little guys, reward the big guys. That is the plan here. So why does the Prime Minister insist on punishing digital-first creators?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, for decades, Canadian music has been not just succeeding in Canada, but around the world. And one of the reasons it has is because we had a system put in place that made sure that Canadian content got played on Canadian radio stations. And it allowed extraordinary artists not just to succeed in Canada, but around the world. The fact is, in a digital world, we need to ensure the same opportunity for Canadian creators of content to resonate across Canada, around the world, and that's exactly what C11 does. Unfortunately, yet again, we see the Conservative Party standing against artists and creators of content in this country. Why are they so scared of Canada's artists? I think we all know, Mr. Speaker.
Whenever the Liberals are desperate, they whip out the hidden agenda conspiracy theory. Trudeau suggested that Conservatives have a hidden agenda to hurt artists. The media then promote the Liberal conspiracy theory because they also want to be paid for publishing content people don't want to pay for. That's C18, the bill to make Google and Facebook pay for the editorial slop the public doesn't want to pay to read. We'll have to wait and see what conspiracy theory Trudeau dreams up for C18. What Trudeau really hates is when someone exposes his conspiracy theories, like an apocalypse will happen unless we pay punishing carbon taxes. When I exposed how Trudeau's agenda to limit personal freedoms in the name of fighting climate change, he flipped out on the campaign trail. This is despite the New York Times reporting on the government's considering climate lockdowns. The paid-off media reported it was just another conservative conspiracy theory. This despite the calls from NGOs like the International Energy Agency suggesting governments introduce curbing personal liberties, like allowing driving only on certain days of the week. But when Trudeau says Conservatives have a hidden agenda to hurt artists, the media ask Conservatives how long we've been hiding our agenda. As I've said in every speech, Canadians love stories and storytellers. We have amazing artists. The world can't get enough of our comedians, our musicians, and our YouTubers. The Liberals are stuck in the 1970s when cultural protectionism was in fashion. The truth is, this has never been about protecting artists. This is about protecting Bell and Rogers' profit margins. Trudeau can push as many agenda conspiracy theories as he wants. The truth about his government is there for all to see. When Liberals are not busy blaming your driving habits for killing the planet, they're blaming your eating habits. The eco-socialists have declared war on beef cattle producers. Climate change is now being caused by flatulent cows. Now let's be clear. If you're burning down the Amazon rainforest to raise cattle, that's bad for the environment. But when the NDP Liberal Alliance seems to forget is the Amazon is not in Canada. That fact is being ignored by the NDP Liberals who want fewer people eating beef. It's why Health Canada is pushing for warning labels to be added to ground beef. Labels on packages of raw ground beef, Hamburger. The government has declared ground beef to be enemy number one. Obviously, it's beneath the Prime Minister and his elite allies to have ever cooked ground beef for spaghetti sauce, let alone hamburger helper. Otherwise, he'd know the fat gets drained off. Look, if Trudeau wants to eat ground up soybeans and pretend it's a hamburger, he can go fill his face, but don't force it onto the rest of us. Is he going to make restaurants change their menus to reflect his revulsion of food everyday Canadians like to eat? Force warning labels on the margins of every burger menu item? Probably not. The restaurant industry has already been hammered by Trudeau's lockdowns. They also have a powerful lobby. They'll argue successfully that the fat content diminishes substantially, lower than the dreaded 3% threshold when ground beef is cooked. What about the rest of us? Maybe his friends eat it tartare. More labeling in both official languages, of course, will drive up the cost, which you have to pay for. And of course, there are the millions of dollars to Liberal insiders to design warning labels simple enough for us mere mortals to see at a glance how bad the ground beef is for us. A portion of that will flow back to the Liberal Party of Canada through untraceable means. That's how it works. That's how they stay in power. They'll generously pay influencers to amplify the message that hamburger is bad. During election time, these influencers will color their remarks to encourage you to cast your ballots for their party. Subliminal, deceitful. They know who watches what. The Liberals know your likes and dislikes from all the data available to them. They know how to target you. They know how to sway your way of thinking. How else can you explain the people of the most caring country in the world turning their backs on friends, brothers, sisters, parents for having a different point of view? Ostracizing an entire segment of society, firing them, deleting them from the country's social safety net, barring their freedom of movement. Disgusting, despicable. That's how they do it. You can help prevent the eventual banning of burger and beef altogether. Print out the petition on the link below and find at least 25 people who agree, then return it to me with their signatures to make it official. No postage is necessary to send the petitions back to me. Like and share this video, and when the Liberals ask you why you're not voting for them, tell them it's mainly because of the beef. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant.